Hi, my name is Constance Nelson. I am the lead therapist and owner of Constantly Healthy Counseling and Coaching. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about child coaching. This can be tricky. I'm a Gottman certified child coach. And what that means is I understand the emotional intelligence as well as the intellectual intelligence of my kids. It can be a little daunting when my parents come into my office, and I will only see the kids if I see the parents for coaching. It's very important to me that we have a holistic approach to any kind of behavior problems or anything that's disrupting the family unit. It's very important that we come in holistically. That means we work with everybody in the group, not just the child, not just the siblings, right? The parents as well. And so as we do a wraparound in my practice, we help my parents understand what it is to be a child coach. Now, this can be extremely confusing because it's kind of the opposite of what we've been taught as parents. We are taught to coach. We're taught to encourage, which means it's okay, you're okay, you've got this. And that's exactly opposite of the way we need to parent our kids. This can be confusing. And sometimes my parents push back at me like, no, you don't get it. Like, I'm trying to get them to the right place, or I'm trying to help them understand, or I'm trying to make sure they get to college, or I'm trying to make sure they're able to navigate through certain things in their lives. And I'm like, okay, you can't teach that. And that's the problem. Our kids have to learn this on their own. Now, we can model this behavior. So sometimes I have kids in my room or young adults in my room that have been raised by a parent, for example, that just took care of the children and didn't take care of themselves. And this young adult will find herself or himself on my couch, wondering why they're in an abusive relationship or a relationship that they don't want to be in, and they know they shouldn't be, but they stay in it. And as I start to question them about their family or their mother specifically and how she raised them, what I always get back is, my mom was amazing. She took care of everything and everyone and really never took care of herself. And I cock my head to the right a bit and go, exactly the way that you are as a young adult, taking care of this person in your life who's abusing you or not being kind to you, and staying, because you're not taught or learned to take care of yourself because your parents or your mother specifically didn't model this behavior. Now, again, I realize how twisted this can sound, and then we feel like, oh, something's wrong with mom. I don't want to blame mom. No, we're not blaming anybody. We're just trying to understand how we got here and how these behaviors that we're modeling or our kids are modeling are not working. And some of them are failing out of school or addicted to marijuana, or sometimes we put them on antidepressants as soon as we can, but they're not learning to regulate. Okay, so what does regulation mean? Regulation means how can they get through an emotional event and be able to navigate through it effectively, which means they're going to suffer. But my parents don't want their kids to suffer. They want to give them things and make them feel better. That's not helping them grow this muscle. And we need to grow this regulation muscle now, when our teen years, not when we're at work or we're having an outburst at a company. Our bosses are not going to be okay with that. So this is where in this container, we need to let our children, which means container, the household. How can we create this household experience for our children? Another way we don't coach our kids is we don't want them to know about death, so we'll flush Goldie down the goldfish down the toilet, or we went to the puppy farm, the dog's no longer here, he's frolicking in a farm. That is not teaching your child how to grieve. So in her older years or his older years, when something hits them, something grieves, something they lose, like a girlfriend or a boyfriend, this will devastate them. Sometimes my kids just want to hurt themselves. And I'm like, what is happening? Well, because we haven't taught them to grieve. I buried many hamsters in my backyard, fish, things like that, for sure. Because that's how my parents taught me to grieve, that it's okay to feel pain. And I think that's where we get caught up. We don't want our kids to feel pain. And that's something that they need. They need to feel pain now and regulate, which means allowing their bodies to feel the gamut of emotions and come the other side. We have to do this now, between the 0 and 18 years, not when they're in a company or in high school. Again, when someone bullies them or their partner breaks up with them and they want to really hurt themselves. I hope this is making sense and this is getting some clarity from my parents. So, how do we emotionally coach our child and not intellectually coach them? And one of my favorite examples is when I grew up, I was in a neighborhood, and I can remember the guys or the boys in my neighborhood were fixing cars. And they had a lot of motivation because back then buses did not come to your house. You had to walk blocks and blocks to get to the bus. The buses were not fun. It was cold. I lived up north, and there was a lot of motivation to drive. So these 16-year-old boys were working on these cars, and they worked and worked and worked on these cars. Never can I remember an adult coming out and going, "Don't worry about the car. I'll buy you one." Never did I remember seeing this. Also, I never remember a parent coming out and saying, "You know what? I'll take care of this for you. I'll fix it." No, these guys fix these cars on their own. I can remember working to the junkyard, getting these pieces with them. I wish I paid attention more, but I didn't. I can't fix a car. But I remember them fixing these broken down cars that they got from a junkyard or wherever, or the parent may have bought them. And when they fixed this car, there was no YouTube back then. There was no way to figure it out but problem solve. Problem solving allows the brain a mechanism to self-soothe. So if we don't learn to problem solve, we don't learn to self-soothe. So these kids these young men will put these pieces together. And when they started this car, they were able to put these pieces together and start that car, we would cheer. You can't buy confidence like that. So please let your kids figure it out. Let them have a safe environment to do it. And don't parent them the way you would have wanted to be parented. No, they have a different environment. So give them this chance to problem solve. So they're able in these moments to self-soothe, regulate their emotional centers when something hits them hard, which it will. And we want to do it now, between the ages of 3 and 18, not in their 20s. So I hope this is making sense. I want to give you one more example. Oprah Winfrey did a segment on child coaching, and she was teaching parents how kids get kidnapped and was trying to convince the parents or show the parents how this works. Every single time a parent would be facing Oprah, and behind the parent there would be child lures, or the child would be in a playground, and Oprah would be talking to the parent and say, "Would your child ever talk to a stranger? Would they ever leave with a stranger?" And the parents were adamant, "Oh no, my child would never, ever, ever leave with a stranger." And within seconds, their kids were being lured away. Oprah did this segment after segment after segment. And every time these kids were lured away, even the older kids, you think, "Oh, I'll leave my child with the older kid." No, they were being lured away too. So after this was happening time and time again, Oprah brought these children into the studio, and the coaches, the child lure coaches came in, and they talked to these children, and they said, "Hey, why did you allow me to lead you off the playground?" He talked to the children this way. And these children were about, I guess, from like 6 to about 11. And he said, "Why did you let me lure you off the playground?" And the children very, very innocently said, in a very intellectually intelligent way, "You said you had a puppy. You said you had candy. You looked nice. Logic, logic, logic." And the child lure goes, "Okay, I hear you. But as I was luring you away, did you feel something in your body?" The child goes, "Oh yeah, I did. I felt butterflies in my belly, or I felt a tightness in my chest." And the coach said, "This is what you have to follow. So if you believe you're being lured away, or you believe that this person isn't saying the truth, trust your gut, trust your body. This will never happen." Because these parents will take these children home. They will not emotionally coach them, because I don't think they got what I got out of it. And they will coach them. Make sure you don't leave with a stranger. Make sure they're this. Make sure they're that. They're coaching them. They're not giving them this place in their bodies to feel this. And that's what's going to save them from being lured off a playground, or being lured into a car. Or if one of our girls is in a situation and she's with a nice boy and she's saying no and he's saying yes, she has to feel in her body that this is not okay. I hope this is making sense. And I know I've got some examples that are a little deep, but I want my parents to understand. Again, we don't mean to do it. We haven't done anything wrong. And I try to make sure my parents don't feel bad when I completely reverse what they should have been doing. So we want to stay in the EQ, which is the emotionally coached model, not in the IQ. IQ is logic. Logic, 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 logic. Logic doesn't save us because the same side of the brain that's telling us, don't get lured away, it's not okay, is the same brain that says, it's okay, you can trust this person. We have to trust our bodies. We have to trust this peace inside of us. So I do have one more example, and this is a great example of an emotionally coached child and an intellectually coached child. So if a parent is intellectually coaching a child, let's say Johnny comes home from a baseball game and he struck out, he's 7, and he is devastated that he has struck out in this baseball game. The intellectually coached parent will say, Johnny, what happened? And Johnny will go, oh my gosh, I struck out. It was awful. The kids hate me. I don't know what I'm going to do. So the coach, yeah, you hear me, you know it's coming. My intellectual coach parent will go, it's okay, Johnny. No, the kids don't hate you. Yes, Mom, they hate me. No, remember that other game? How well you did, Johnny? It's okay. In that moment, that parent is not validating Johnny's feelings. They're trying to make him feel better, probably because they want to feel better. So they're not serving Johnny at all. They don't mean to. Their intentions are good, but they're coaching him intellectually. They're not emotionally coaching him. So the same child comes home, different parent, an emotionally coached parent. Johnny comes home from the baseball game. He's devastated. He's struck out. He's not happy. The emotionally coached parents, they ask questions. Johnny, what happened? And Johnny goes, wow, I struck out. It was awful. The kids hate me. I ruined the whole game. And the emotionally coached parent will go, oh, okay, I hear you. Tell me more. How'd you feel? Oh my God, I felt awful. I let the whole team down. I'm a terrible baseball player. Okay, Johnny, I hear you. It makes sense that you feel this way. I hear you saying that you let down your team. She's validating, restating, listening. That's listening. That's active listening. It makes sense that you feel this way, Johnny. Of course. Wow. I get it. I get it. What do you think happened? They ask a question. This is the problem-solving mechanisms that are starting to move in the brain. And Johnny goes, I don't know. The bat was very slippy. Mother goes, do you know of anybody that may be able to teach you how to bat? Johnny says, maybe the coach. What a great idea. Maybe the coach can help you. Johnny says, maybe I can talk to the coach tomorrow and I can see if he can help me. Now, as a parent, I may call the coach and go, hey, Johnny's going to talk to you, right? I may call the coach real quick because maybe Johnny's a little young. But then Johnny gets to go to that coach and Johnny gets to advocate for himself and ask the coach to coach him and help him with the batting. What has Johnny done? He is in victory. He has figured this out, which gets that part of his brain going. He has problem solved and he has advocated for himself. That's emotionally coached. I hope this makes sense to my parents. This happened to me personally with my child. He's high functioning autistic and he ended up getting in the same kind of situation. And I had to maneuver things so he felt empowered because he wasn't going to tell me about it because Mom always takes care of business. But I had to do this at his employment and I had to coach a little bit his employer to help my son come in and be able to express what was going on the floor and in his environment. Yes, I did prep the employer a little bit. Yeah, I did. But my son was able to go in and advocate for himself and things got better. So he believes that he did this for himself. All right, parents. So let's think about this. How are we coached growing up? Maybe it was not good or backwards. Let's make sure our childhood isn't impressing on our kids. Let me give my child the life I would have wanted. No, that's not what you need to do. Give the life they need. Let's start to coach our kids emotionally, not intellectually. All right, guys? So let's get some coaching going on, do some practicing, and give me a ring or let me know how you do. Give me a little blurb at the bottom of my YouTube here on my video, and let me know how it works out for you.